9 years ago, I created my old and lost Roblox account. It might not seem important, but every journey has to start from somewhere. Anyway, the first few games that I played were those stupid mega fun obbies, so nothing was lost from my old accounts anyway. I was a casual player, if you will. That was around 2021 when I discovered difficulty chart games, Find the Games, and that amazing bunker simulator. However, I mostly played difficulty chart obbies. I remember getting quite far in these before inevitably quitting the difficulty chart obby and moving on to the next. This would be how I played until... Alright, so in late 2022, I discovered Geometry Dash through the horrible remakes of it from scratch. I played these scratch versions until early 2023 when I discovered the game exists on Microsoft Store. Little did I know that this would not be the same version as the Steam version, and so it stopped working once 2.2 was released. Anyway, I won't explain my whole progression in this video, otherwise this is going to turn into a Geometry Dash video, which isn't the point. What I'm trying to say is because I was so hooked onto the game, I kind of stopped playing a lot of Roblox to fully grind the game. Fast forward all the way to after I beat Supersonic, I started to grind the game a lot less. This was around the time an ongoing hiatus on the channel was going on, and in that time I had beaten Diligence, which was my first extreme demon. After that I decided to play Geometry Dash less and focus on my Roblox more, since that was what I enjoyed more. And you have no idea what game I discovered in my hiatus. Alright, so I kind of lied when I said I discovered EToH in my hiatus. I'd actually discovered the game in early 2024, so we have to rewind again to see the start of my EToH journey. Anyway, because of my prior experience of obbying, I easily got past Tower of Annoyingly Simple Trials, Tower of Anger, and Tower of Madness. Tower of Noticeable Infuriation did not exist at the time, but I did beat it easily later. Then, I progressed to Tower of Heck, my first major mind block. I could pretty easily get past the tower in theory, however I was not used to playing tower obbies, which are extremely long in length compared to each difficulty section in a difficulty chart obby. Plus, there was a major choke point in Tower of Heck, this being Floor 7. Floor 7 had tight ropes, which at the time I had no strategy for. Every time I got to this floor, no matter how hard I tried, I always fell to the bottom. It was so mentally draining that I had to quit EToH for over a year. However, fast forward to my Diligence completion, I randomly got a neuron activation when playing Roblox again. What if I returned to EToH, but now with my newfound skill in Geometry Dash? This would turn out to be my greatest thought. As soon as I got back to EToH, I immediately locked in and beat Tower of Noticeable Infuriation and Tower of Heck in the same attempt. Once I rejoined EToH after a day or two, the Ring Zero update had come out and I knew exactly what to do. I beat all of Ring Zero except the Tower Rush in just a few days. Citadel of Victory was by far my longest and hardest completion at the time, clocking it at 164 minutes. After that, I beat Tower of Web Palace, which was part of the Halloween 2025 event, just for fun. However, what I didn't know is that completing the Webbed Palace allowed me to unlock my first item, the Healing Pylon. This item works very simply. You touch the pylon when it's green and it rewards you with 10 health. It seems overpowered, but it isn't really that overpowered to be honest. It probably is my worst healing item to this day, since I get more and more healing items in the future. Once I completed the Webbed Palace, I took a break from EToH, which was around 2 weeks long. I quickly made up for this by completing Tower of Killjoys and Tower of Keyboard Eating in a short period from each other. Then it was time for Tower of Stress. Tower of Stress was the first ever tower I needed to use a practice game for. This is because the Tower of Stress is extremely second half carried. After practicing the tower for a short while, I quickly came up to the top and beat the tower. Then it was time for Tower of Screen Punching. This tower was going to be my most challenging tower due to the sheer number of increased difficulty and traps, but eventually I got the muscle memory of the tower and just kept going. After a whole hour of playing, this happened. I had completed the Tower of Screen Punching, and nothing would stop me now. This was around the time where I started to get my love for EToH. I was just crushing every single tower that I came across within less than 2 days each. Maybe I would be the best player, I said. No, I have to stay humble. I reminded myself that my grind for this game will not be as fast as it is now forever. There will be eventually times where the tower will stop me in my tracks. That would be in a long while though. The next towers I would complete would be the Tower of Rage and the Tower of Impossible Expectations, which I breezed through as usual. Then came the 2025 event for Christmas, although that was a pretty mid event if I'm going to be honest. Then I would have to overcome my second citadel, which is... wait a second. Why am I hearing boss? Progress was going smoothly with Citadel of Laptops splitting, with every stream having some progress. Something happened when I tried to get the F13 twin pad and F12 twin pad. I just could not get any of these runs down, so I dropped these runs and instead started learning F11. But then, something happened. I fluked the run. Everything seemed to be okay from F1. However, things would change once I got to the second dropper. I just could not get the transition down for the beginning of floor 15. At the time, I did not know about the second dropper balloon skip, so unfortunately I had to endure the pain of the beginning of floor 15. After several times of failing, I tried to do the first floor 14 wrap, but then... I fell down to F10. I was extremely upset, as I did not know about the strat of falling down on purpose to get to the second dropper again. This meant that I had to do floor 10 to dropper 2 all over again just to get back and maybe fall down again. Except something happened to my brain. Something so indescribably good. something that gave me the ability to fluke the entire citadel. However, the real question was, would I pass the last jump? I had completed the citadel of laptop splitting. However, this would not mark the end of my journey for citadel of laptop splitting, as I had decided to go for the secret ending, which is much harder than the regular citadel of laptop splitting. Even though this was considered random difficulty, I still managed to get good runs quickly and ultimately decided to go from F1. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there's an Obama prison boss fight. It's really easy though. By far the best part in the secret. And there we have it, my citadel of laptop splitting secret ending completion. This would be my hardest for a long while. Anyways, I beat the Tower of True Skill and that was a thing, I guess. After completing Neat and Steeple of uninstalling Roblox, I had reached 25 towers completed. This marks a significant part of my journey, as this meant it was time to farm towers until I reached 66 tower completions. This is because I wanted to complete the Tower of Infinity Gauntlet as my 67th tower completion, for obvious reasons. To make sure my skill actually improves while doing this, I only allowed myself to complete towers of hard difficulty or higher. Tower of Genesis was a
it's alright, like
tutorial tower. I'm not entirely sure why people hate it so much. Tower of Buttons is really good on your first playthrough, then after a few more completions you get bored of it, but later on it gets good again. Tower of Motion Evolution is a decent tower, but definitely does not deserve must play on the tower rating game. Tower of Critical Damage's song in F9 and F10 are goated. Oh, and there's force damage here. Tower of Boost Mayhem is such a forgettable tower. At the base, it's an alright tower. Tower of Various Pressures is really bad. You have to play the tower to understand why though, which is even more annoying. Tower of Kinetic Potential is an awesome tower, but still not better than Critical Damage in my opinion. Tower of No Strings Attached is probably the first tower in Ring Zero to improve one's skill. And also I love the part where you have to leave out the mechanic that you're most comfortable in for lap. Tower of Keys to Success genuinely tries to be something that it isn't. It's just a random tower in Ring Zero that will be most people's first heart after the update. What I mean by this is that there are a lot of secrets and weird stuff that I cannot be bothered to explain, and this is a kind of recurring problem in lots of towers like Tower of True Skill. Like, why can't we just have a normal Tower of Keys to Success? Tower of Dancing All Night was quite an interesting tower to say the least. It was the very first tower that I struggled on since my return to EToH. However, I still beat it relatively quickly, in about an hour. Since my sight readability level was around easy at the time, Citadel of Victory was very difficult for me at the time. I still beat it in my first playthrough, as you know. Tower of Table Flipping was my first tower that I completed for the tower farming grind, and it is a very weird tower. Floor 9 is apparently a huge choke point and a very bad spike in difficulty. However, I fluked the tower from floor 8, I think? We don't talk about Tower of Traps. Also, I accidentally beat a few mediums and easy towers because I thought that the April monthly challenge in Paradise Atoll was Steeple of Mystical Marines. and I beat mediums because of other monthly challenges. Now it was time for... I would try to do a strategy where I get runs from the start of the last floor, then the next, all the way to the end. Unfortunately, most of my progress on Tower of Glitching and Healing was off stream, however I still remember using this strategy. I got an F6 to win pad before trying out the earlier floors, which were much easier. I used to do this thing for dance clips where I zoom in before pressing D to clip. This is extremely inconsistent and isn't actually what triggers a dance clip. After doing many dance clips as part of practice for Tower of Glitching and Healing, I actually got the hang of it, and now it was time for me to go from F1. Something really interesting happened. I hardly fell, at all. In fact, I wasn't failing once in any of the hard parts. Then, something crazy happened. Something crazier than the craziest A on F fluke. I managed to fluke almost all of the tower in just one. Tower of Cold Hands was the very first tower I completed after Tower of Glitching and Healing, and since it is a baseline difficult, I had no issue with it. Kind of enjoyed it though. I first beat Tower of Elysium with show hitboxes to help me learn the tower. Then I memorized the puzzles and beat it fairly quickly. Also, I hate the battles. Tower of Holy Flip honestly is not a very bad tower per se. It was my experience with the tower that made it so horrible. I mean, it's really difficult to like a tower after failing from one specific jump on the last floor 3 times. I was very bad at one stud stick out hit hitters. However, I got better at them later. Anyways, I beat 4 ring 3 towers, winning every run, wall hugging, fatness and slight inconvenience. It's ring 3, I don't think I have to describe my experience to you. Fatness was especially worse, obviously. Tower of Tokyo Heights is one of my favourite towers of all time. It's always the intense towers, isn't it? After beating one of my favourite towers, it was time to beat a ring 3 tower, lots of damage. Same experience as always. After lots of damage, it was time for my next Remorseless, which would be the... This would be my new hardest tower until my next Remorseless. Anyway, this time all my progress is off stream except for the completion, but thanks to the wonderful power of editing I can still document and visualize it. I started learning each floor separately and tried to get runs using this method. Although the raw for each floor is about insane difficulty, each floor is netted, so that's probably why so many people think that this is intense. There is one tricky thing about this tower. You know how I said that all of it is netted? Well, that was kind of a lie. You see, in the final floor of the tower, it's still netted, but you have a finite amount of lives before it is unnetted. Anyways, I would then go on to get many good runs like F6 to win pad and so on, without having to worry about the final floor. After grinding this tower for way too long because it's so peak, I accidentally got a run of F2 to win pad on the tower, which I didn't notice because I was having such a fun time playing it. I thought that I switched floors using no clip in the practice lobby, but I guess not. Anyways, it was time to play Tower of Astral Fusion from F1. I was kind of cooking because I guess I managed to not fall in any outside section, and I didn't even fall in floor 9 and onwards, so there was no point of the net. Here is my Tower of Astral Fusion completion reaction. I'm better than Bundon! Oh my god! Yes! I'm better than Bundon! Oh my god, yeah! Now for the lucky people who don't know, Bundon is a YouTuber with over 3 million subs as I'm making this video. He used to play lots and lots of EToH. He ended up with his hardest being Tower of True Skill, and he had completed another realm, Tower of Astral Fusion. Now, my Tower of Astral Fusion completion officially marks the day where I passed Bundon, since I had beaten more realms than him. However, I think that raw skill wise I was always the top player here, since I have an insane amount of potential. Now for my last 9 completions before I revealed what my next hardest would be to the world. Tower of Mirrored Heckwood would be by far my favourite classic tower in the game, partially due to its outstanding song choice as well. I wish that we had more classic towers than this one, but oh well. I first attempted Tower of Nerves of Steel on stream, however I could not really get past the first half, so I ended the stream but kept going. I eventually beat it as a result of persistence. As of writing this video, this tower is my favourite tower of all time because of how it uses punishment, client objects, and really weird gimmicks like this one, and much more awesome stuff. Only Starlit Archives and Silent Abyss towers will be able to top this. I might play Steel Spear Horizon again soon. After that, I beat Tower of Peace, which is kind of a mid tower and there isn't much to say about it, although the last floor is weird. It seems like lots of Zone 1 towers carry the same vibe no matter how. Then I beat Tower of Deep Darkness, which needs no explanation. However, I found that most players see it as the most notorious and infamous tower in Ring 2. Notice how I said tower. Also, give me my land to please. Tower of Floral Fury is a very interesting tower because the design is genuinely peak, but the gameplay is honestly so mid and it's way too short. If you're a beginner, this tower is way too loop failing in order to be worth it. Focus on beating Tower of Impossible Expectations, which is slightly better but still mid-game. After that, I completed yet another Zone 1 tower, Tower of Hand Sweating, which is also one of my favourite classics. This is probably because of the revamp, but I wouldn't actually know that because I didn't play prior to the revamp. I also liked the ending thing, even though I was legit scared it would bug out and soft lock. Now for the final three. Tower of Shattered Dreams was a very bad tower. It feels like it's trying to be Tower of Impossible Expectations when it really is just some random Ring 2 challenging. Also, the outside sections are chokeable and just suck in general, so I'll be definitely failing there in Ring 2 towers, but I don't have to worry about that for a long time. Then we have a significant bump in enjoyment with Tower of Watts, which for some reason managed to make my stream get cropped into just being tower after Tower of Watts. I have no idea why this happened. Anyway, it's a decent tower overall, but with some unusual gameplay quirks that bump down my rating. It also has lots of potential. And please do not talk about how this is linked to Tower of Wigglecore when it isn't. It has 0 wiggles. Last but not least, for my last tower completion until my hardest, I decided to go with Steeple of Wicked Grotto, since it is barely intense and lots of people liked it. Myself included, I guess, because it was really fun and I had only one thing bad about it pretty much. A lot of Silent Abyss towers tend to be very underrated like this one, so I recommend you play a few Silent Abyss towers or even the Tower Rush to get the experience. Now that we are all caught up with my tower completions, let's see how I revealed my new hardest. So basically I revealed it in this 2-minute long really cringe video that I probably shouldn't have done more work on. But anyway, let's reveal it here because I love explaining things. I wanted my new hardest to be a citadel, but also to be extremely difficult for me as a jump from Tower of Astral Fusion as a challenge. This would end up to be the Citadel of Wacky Strategy. Before I continue the video, there are a few things that I think I need to be clear out. Firstly, I addressed the ending a lot, which is just referring to the last 2 floors. The final stretch is just referring to the last 5 floors. Yes, I'm including F21 here. Make sure to refer back to this point in the video if you forget these things. I started my Cow's journey by playing the entire Citadel from F1, except whenever I fell, I would just no-clip back to where I fell. It's kind of like all jumping with no-clip instead. Yeah, please message me if you find a place where you can AJ towers properly, please! Anyways, this whole process took about 2 hours, which is kind of a lot when you think about it. Using this information, I estimated that my completion attempt of the Citadel would take 6 hours, which I think is a lot. I think. Some people have spent longer than 10 hours on the TSA Tower Rush. What? Anyway, I started grinding the ending since for me that was the hardest part. Each floor in the final stretch is raw, soul-crushing gameplay, which if you didn't know, is pretty damn hard. After a while, I got F25 to win pad. Like, it took way longer than it needed to, since it's just one floor, right? wrong. It is the hardest floor in the whole citadel, with multiple outside section choke points, and after all that hard stuff, this just needs to be the final floor. Also, I think now's a good time to explain how I do the 12 stud in the citadel. I first set up the jump in first person using this really weird camera thing, then I zoom out to a decent amount, and then I use alignment keys and shift lock and unshift lock. Then I finally jump and presumably climb onto the second structure. This is a very consistent strategy for me that I use to complete the final jump marathon for Citadel of Wacky Strategy as part of April's monthly challenges. This turned out to be my first psychologically unsafe challenge completion, I think. Also, I beat the final jump marathon first try, so that's also something. Why am I telling you this? Because I need to emphasize the fact that the last jump is not hard, and you have to encounter 12 studs beforehand in the Citadel anyways. While I was practicing F24, I noticed something weird. There was no way to be able to get past this platform to the next. I checked the guide and saw that it was because there was actually supposed to be a tightrope there. However, I guess there was an error with importing the Citadel in here because it just doesn't exist in the practice lobby. There are honestly so many things I can complain with the practice lobby, and I'm really upset he isn't a practice place on the side, because this means that I will have to use it for Tower of Infinity Gauntlet, which probably won't be a pleasant experience, but I won't judge right now. Anyway, I got F24 to win pad pretty quickly, so yeah, but nothing would prepare me for how awful the F23 win pad is. Also, now is a good time to mention this Citadel kind of sucks, which is kind of the reason why it's mentally draining and stuff, but I'll get to that later. Anyway, the F23 to win pad grind was very, very awful. This is because every time I fell past floor 23, I had to restart the run, but that doesn't just mean I have to no-clip back to the start of F23. It means that I have to manually reset my character, go to the portal, and no-clip all the way back up. Oh, and my button progress was lost every time I did this. Obviously, this sucked, and this sparks my hatred for Citadel. Well, to be honest, my hate did start when I was practicing it on the very first stream. Nothing could prepare me for the amount of pain and suffering Citadel is dead. I got a new keyboard overlay, by the way, guys. Isn't that cool? I had to remove it due to YAG issues. After a lot of ending fails, I managed to secure an F23 to win pad run, which made me feel very proud of myself. Instead of going for F22 to win pad, this time I was going to go for F21 to win pad, because, I mean, look how free this is, bro. When I was trying to get F21 to win pad, I kept failing, the occasional fall which made me lose some button progression, failing, and more failing. You can see it for yourself at the streams. Anyway, I managed to secure the run off stream, which is a very recurring trend for runs to the win pad in the Citadel. Here's my reaction to getting the run. Yes! Oh my god! The stream where I was learning F20 and trying to get F20 to win pad, which has the thumbnail green for some reason, was a very, very boring stream. I think I managed to get to the ending 4 times that stream and failed all attempts, unfortunately. One of them ended the run entirely, and one of them literally caused me to end the near 3-hour-long stream. For reference, Citadel of Wacky Strategy progression streams are usually an hour or less, because I wanted my grind to be mostly off-stream. That was all that happened in that stream. I would then get F20 to win pad off-stream in like 20 minutes, lol. I don't even know how that happened, since judging by my consistency at the time, that should not have happened. At the time of getting this run, I had spent a total of 13 hours on the Citadel, just on those 6 floors. It would be a miracle if I spent less than 50 hours on this. Speaking of consistency, this was around the time where I started to actually lock the hell in to get consistent at the final floors. This is why in the stream's titles I say stuff like this, or like this. You can see this on stream 6, where most of the stream is me struggling to get to F24 to win pad. For most people, getting this run again wouldn't be a struggle since I've already done runs like F20 to win pad. However, it took me almost a full half hour to complete the run once again, which proved to be really disappointing. Obviously, I grinded the hell out of the ending after the stream. At around the 26-minute mark, I started practicing F19 to prepare for what is considered by some people to be the most learny and longest floor. Obviously, nothing else happened for the rest of the stream. Stream 7 marks the day where I stopped using the keyboard overlay. I know that T has a built-in one, but if I ever need to later, I may or may not reuse it. Nothing else really happens in Stream 7 because it's only 10 minutes long. This is because I had to end it prematurely due to severe lag issues. Then, in a random turn of events, I fluked so many floors in the final stretch from F19. And then, this happened. We are now 19 hours into the grind. I uploaded the video and it managed to become my most popular progression video, so that's something quite interesting. Also, the progression video has Coolio music looped several times in it for some reason, bro. On Stream 8, I boosted up the stream with different intentions. This time, instead of me trying to get yet another run to the win pad, I decided I was ready to learn and practice the prior floors. Most of the stream is just me trying to get a run of F15 to 19, however I just could not get past even the second part of F15. Oh, and if you didn't know, most floors between F11 and 15 have second parts, so you essentially have to redo sections that look familiar. After a couple more hours of practicing off stream, I managed to get a little bit more consistent for floors 15 to 19. On Stream 9, I once again attempted to get F15 to 19, but this time I actually did it towards the 2-hour mark of the stream. I then started to learn the first section of F14 and F13 at the end of the stream. I also decided that I was consistent enough in F21 to win pad around this time, so I stopped practicing this section entirely because it was so mentally draining for me and it wasn't worth it anymore. On the next stream, it was a normal Citadel Wacky Strategy stream, even though I personally don't count it as a Citadel Wacky Strategy stream because I was doing something else before practicing it in the stream. Anyway, I decided after my F15 to 19 run, I was ready to practice F10 to 15. I specifically started learning these floors because at floor 10, you could choose to complete an optional outside section, which rewards you with a button and key, which allows you to cheese the first 9 floors. When I first heard about this, I felt genuine happiness, as this is one of the only good things with Citadel Wacky Strategy. F10 to 15 was not too tricky to learn, so I quickly picked it up and immediately started getting some good runs. Also, I think I should note that the drop of balloon skip, it's basically a skip where once you get to the balloon in the dropper, you have to execute a near perfect timing of your balloon somehow colliding with the outer platform, which is supposed to save you. If you do the timing correctly, you get sent to the last jump, allowing you to skip over 7 floors. However, you can't do this unless you already got to the last jump, but it's still an OP save method that Certified should have used. So I don't know why or how, but I immediately started cooking in this section of the Citadel for no explanation, and I just kept going on the run, and I kept going, eventually making it to F15 and beyond. Now I was at the dropper. While doing this time section, I had a really cool thought. What if I do the balloon skip so I could say I did F10 to win pad? So I attempted the skip and fell into this random part of F19 outside. My reaction in chat speaks for itself. Then I uploaded the video. Also, don't ask why it says F9 to 19 in the thumbnail, I messed up. Despite the fact that I posted another progression video after this one, this would be the last video I uploaded to the channel before I beat Citadel Wacky Strategy. Now it was time to It took a few minutes to get used to the wobbly platforms in F2, but other than that I was able to get past the first few floors of the Citadel on stream 10. However, things wouldn't go as easily planned forever. This is because of F6 to 10, by far the most loop faily part of the Citadel. I would say that raw gameplay does not go much higher than low mid Remorseless, however I just couldn't get past this section for like an hour straight. I even died because I wasn't aware of my health. Eventually I got past it and got to the key and button, meaning I could go straight back to F10 whenever I fell, which felt good. The floors 10 to 13 were a bit loop faily as expected, but nothing out of the ordinary. Once I got to 14, it was quite smooth from there. I managed to get past 15, 16, now we were on the 17th floor. This was an amazing first attempt, I thought. I got past the 17th floor relatively quickly and got to the dropper. The dropper itself isn't too difficult, but it's because of the sheer amount of GBJ in it. For example, if you don't go into the holes fast enough here, you could easily get yourself killed because there's nothing to stop you from falling down. Falling down in the short timed outside section is another GBJ if you did not use the button and key from F10. But there was a GBJ that I didn't even know about. Apparently if you step on the balloon trigger at this specific point, the balloon kind of flings the character like this, disorienting the player and making you unable to move for a few seconds in the process, which is basically a run killer because you cannot get to the F18 safety platform fast enough. This exact GBJ happened to me literally without me knowing about it. Also, I managed to do this weird flinging thing trying to save myself, which is funny to watch. Anyway, I ended the stream there because I didn't have enough time to get back. So I got the Citadel in 3 runs. Epic. I think it's a great time to start ranting about how bad this Citadel is. First off, you literally have the 2nd floor of the Citadel, which doesn't seem too bad yet, until you realise it's wobbly platform spam. In fact, the Citadel regularly uses wobbly platform spam without you knowing, and it's really stupid. I hate wobbly platforms. Use welded platforms instead. It's not even funny how much better welded platforms are, but they're still a mid feature. Second off, the amount of random thing the Citadel throws at you, expecting you to know exactly how to get past them all without practicing genuine insanity. Imagine if I played Citadel Wacky Strategy from F1 with 0 experience of the Citadel. It goes as badly as you think. In fact, the practice lobby, which was official at the time of Citadel Wacky Strategy being on there, literally doesn't even have the wall hop or the last tightrope in F24. Imagine if these things were genuine choke points that I would have missed out on practicing. That just shows how stupid this Citadel is. Normally these issues in the practice lobby would be extremely minor. I just want to talk about the last 4 floors. This is a genuine utter piece of crap that should never be put into a Citadel. This is mainly because the balancing sucks. Genuinely, why put all the SC gameplay at the end? What is the point? Why? Why do most towers use this balancing format? If anything, just be consistent with your balancing. There's also random choke points in this part, such as this stupid F23 outside jump, and literally every jump in 425 in the first half. Why wasn't the Citadel completely cancelled? The middle parts of the Citadel are also so loop faily and stupid. Why does F10 have this weird SC jump in the middle of raw difficult? Why is there a random gimmick in F6 that is never ever used beyond that floor? We have 19 more floors left of the Citadel. Why the hell are there so many inconsistencies that you just have to deal with? Think about people in the I watched CRP's guide for Citadel Wacky Strategy, and he used a bunch of strategies that I would put into my own runs, such as this F10 strategy for this specific jump. I genuinely hate usage of these types of jumps, so he really helped out there and in other sections. I then allowed myself to go from the beginning in just a few days, not knowing that this would be my greatest run yet. Alright, so the way in which this run works is extremely confusing to new EToH players, so I'll try to my absolute best to simplify it as much as possible. I started the stream and immediately entered the Citadel, thinking not much of it. Then I got to F8, in which I started getting severe lag issues. I decided to end the stream prematurely due to lag. However, I would keep the background recording going in case of a completion. As I just got past F10, I just kept going, and going, and going. And before I knew it, I was at a new personal best, and about to complete the 18th floor of the tower. Except, something extraordinary happened. My severe lag issues were occurring again, but in a different way. This time, my whole computer was genuinely freezing up, and I had no idea how to fix this. Then, out of nowhere, Roblox completely closed by itself. I did not move a single muscle in my entire body when this was happening. I cannot stress to you how stupid it is to have to play a horrible 25 floor citadel with fear that your run could end for literally no reason. Anyway, I managed to get this mod to notice my issue, and I showed them a clip of what happened through the background recording. They were actually able to TP me back to where I was, so I just continued the run as if nothing happened. This allowed me to get to F19, press 2 buttons, and literally fall back down to F15. This would result in me getting another issue, because the mod literally forgot to get the button and key progression, and I got disconnected mid-run in F16. I guess it doesn't really matter, because I got TP'd once again with all the key and button progression. At this point, my lag issues were fixed enough so I could stream once again, which is precisely what I did. I managed to get all the way to F19 again from 16, except I got further into the 19th floor, except this happened. This failure almost compelled me to just quit the run entirely due to how annoying it was. Regardless, I kept going, and going, getting further. Wait, what? This is it. I was so close to reaching the final stretch. Floor 20 is completely netted. All I have to do to pass the floor is press 2 more buttons. Wait a second, why isn't the X pusher working? No, I thought. This is it, the run is over. I could contact the mod to fix it, but it was no use. But by the sheer power of my determination, the X pusher bug lifted on itself. Literally, I do not even know why this happened, but bear with me. After I pressed the button, then we went to the next. Shoot, it's the last button. This part is one of the most stressful parts in all of the Citadel. You have to get through these spinning platforms, which is way harder than you think because of its speed. The only semi-consistent strategy you can do is hop on the platform, wait a bit and jump. You must hold D while doing this strategy. Alright, whatever, I passed it somehow. Even this stupid rap which contributes to my hatred of the Citadel. The rest of the section is extremely easy. All creators who took part in the creation of the Citadel need to improve on their building. I'm so ashamed that this tower took the same amount of time that it took for the Tower of the Umbrella the user to release, and that is obviously much better. There's not really anything to talk about for F20 because it's the only floor that is completely netted. Well, technically the first floor is, but that's it. Oh, and there's this stupid rap which I think is literally extreme difficulty, because that is just in the Citadel for no reason. Genuinely nobody playtested this. Anyway, I think you know what happens next. I get past the floor and onto F21, the final stretch, the rest of completely unfiltered soul-crushing gameplay. One jump and onto F22. This is the second easiest floor of the final stretch since there aren't any difficult mechanics or any unbalanced stuff that you need a strategy for. Maybe this jump, but that's literally all the jumps you need a strategy for. F23 is a different story. You need to get this time section down, otherwise get ready to fail a lot. The outside section is fine I guess, but Tower of Deep Darkness doesn't think so because they nerfed this section in the Tower of Deep. However, in the outside section there is this slanted wrap, which is an extremely difficult jump for me even though it's pretty easy for most people. Practice this jump specifically a lot when practicing. I managed to get to the end of F24, which has many choke points and extremely difficult sections which I managed to fluke entirely. However, I unexpectedly failed this jump due to bumping onto this tightrope mid-jump. And due to the nature of the practice lobby, you cannot practice this.
Hooray!
As I thought, I fell all the way down. Just kidding, I saved myself at 19. And due to the button progression, I no longer had to complete that floor. After getting back to F21, it was time to cook. At this point, my hands were trembling. The last time I got to this part, I fell greatly. I got past the wall hop, which in the practice lobby is a ladder for some reason. Then all the slanted jumps. I was walking on a tightrope now. Tightrope that would decide if I would pass to F25 or not. One more slanted jump. Floor 25. You might have noticed that in the Citadel Wacky Strategy stream in which I beat it, I stood still in this part for ages. This was because I was literally praying because I missed out on one of the prayers of the day. Yes, the power of Islam is real and you cannot escape from it. Listen to the voice. Anyway, I intentionally took a long time to do this so that I could get the most out of the prayer. By the way, this is the only time in which I prayed in which the intention is for something as unimportant as EToH, but I think it's fine. You will understand later. After the prayer, I started to go, and I'll let the clips speak for themselves. Alright, so I managed to get past the first half of floor 25, which is literally all soul-crushing gameplay. You might be saying to yourself that I have beaten the Citadel, and you would be right, except if the last jump didn't exist. Yes, 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 yes. I beat it. 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 Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes.